So I was diagnosed 9 years ago. And at that time, the doctor, nothing. And, he looked me up in my face. I'm 18.
And it's a gene issue, right? Like
yeah,
it's a hereditary gene issue.
Yeah, so both of my parents are carriers of this super rare disease.
I'm telling you, these parents are finding new ways to f*** us up.
I know, every time.
They're always doing
Every
some
time
shit.
someone said to me, because for anyone that doesn't know Franklin, it's known for being a very wealthy town.
Part of Nashville, like South Nashville.
It's like one of the most, and someone said one time, they're like, I guess you're proof that money can't buy everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, special guest, very funny stand-up comedian, Fiona Cauley. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I was really touched by how funny your set was last week on a stand-up show we did together. You've only been doing comedy for a couple years?
Yeah, we're approaching 3 years.
3 years. How does it feel? I mean, do you feel like a pro up there or what?
I mean, before I officially got into stand-up, that's a hard thing with trying to be like, this is how long I've been doing it, because 6 years ago was my first time on a stage doing comedy, but then I didn't do it again for a year. You know what I mean?
And we have that timeline of we're like so data driven about like how far you are.
How frequently were you doing it? Yeah, it's way more impressive.
And then you take you take the COVID off, and it's like it's hard to calculate.
I didn't So my getting into comedy, I was tricked into doing it the first time.
That's usually like sex too, right?
Right.
You're always like, what are we doing here?
Whoa, I did.
Didn't know this was a gangbang.
This is not where I saw this heading.
How were you tricked into stand-up?
So I was in college. This was 6 years ago, and I had just gone through one of the worst breakups I had ever had, and it was Valentine's Day, and I was very drunk, and a friend of mine was having a house party with the band, and she had flyers and stuff, and I planned on going to the house party. I show up, and I see a flyer. When I get there, it says band and special guest comedian Fiona Cauley. And at this point, I had never even considered doing comedy.
This is like a stand-up intervention.
Yeah. Yeah, so I took a couple of shots, and at this time, so I'm in a wheelchair. It's probably important information, but my disease is progressive. So at this time, you've got
muscular dystrophy.
I have, so we thought it was a form of it for years. I mean the medical and field. Turns out it's not. It's its own thing. It's called Friedreich's ataxia, but it kind of.
I did a little research on Friedreich's ataxia, just so I was prepared here. Just from reading your bio, but I didn't know how far it progresses, how fast or whatever, and share whatever you feel comfortable. But I mean, your whole story seems to be just wildly inspirational, just to be out doing what some consider one of the hardest things, public speaking, stand-up, but also by battling. Is it considered it's a degenerative disorder?
Yeah, it is. So what do you mean? Just
when did it start? I want to get back to the surprise stand-up show, but when did this start to surface? Is it in teen years?
So I was an athlete.
Really?
Volleyball, cross country, soccer, all of that. And then when I was 15, I kind of started noticing I was just becoming clumsy. Everyone always thought I was drunk, the way I spoke, the way I walked, and It was kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow was how I walked, you know?
The eyeliner and the swashbuckling.
Yeah, it was the ripped up tights. I don't know. No showering. It was really cool back then.
And by the way, where are you from?
I'm from Franklin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Seems like a nice area.
Yeah, it's like scary. It's like fake people, Truman Show vibes, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So you start to feel Jack Sparrow-ish.
At 15, the principal in my high school is smelling my breath in the morning because she thinks I'm coming to school drunk.
Oh my gosh.
I thought I was quirky, you know? And my mom, I did tell her I thought I should go to a doctor, something might be up a couple times, but I was the middle child and my older sister also walked weird, but she had like medical stuff to kind of explain the weird walking, and I did not. So I used to get like in trouble for copying her, and I thought I was insane. I would practice walking a straight line in my room.
So people thought you were trying to mimic your older sibling.
Yes.
And meanwhile, you have just basically an undiagnosed, relatively rare disease.
You're right. And so at 18, I take myself to all these different doctors. I finally end up at a neurologist. And
did it progress a lot from 15 to 18?
I don't think noticeably so. Like the best way for me to explain 15, it's like I maneuvered like I was tipsy.
Okay.
And then 18, it was like, you're almost drunk. Like, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
would it get worse with like if you actually were drinking?
Oh, a nightmare. I look blackout.
So it gets worse when you start to lose your faculties.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It's bad.
So what was the moment where you felt like you needed to go to the doctor? Was there like a specific moment where you're like, this isn't right?
I always knew it wasn't right, but I needed to know I wasn't crazy.
Well, because some people, like Christina Applegate just said, she's got, I believe, multiple sclerosis. I could be wrong. But she said she kind of knew she had it for like 6 years before she went. And maybe she was in denial about like not wanting. But obviously, if you're an athlete and you start to realize you're not able to maybe continue to have the same motor skills, it's probably very, becomes alarming.
Yeah, and after I stopped doing sports because of it, and I didn't know why, I went into art and I was painting and drawing, and my hand movements started getting worse, and I was gaslit pretty hard. Like, I thought I was an attention-seeking psycho. So I really only went in to the doctor because I truly believed it was something minor they'd fixed before I went to college. And I just wanted to fix it and be done with it. And little did I know I kind of opened up this Pandora's box,
Yeah. Now, is there anything that the doctors can do to slow down that or?
So I'm 27 now. So I was diagnosed 9 years ago. And at that time, the doctor, nothing. And, he looked me in my face. I'm 18.
And it's a gene issue, right? Like, it's a hereditary gene issue.
Yeah. So both of my parents are carriers of this super rare disease.
I'm telling you, these parents are finding new ways to fuck us up.
I know, every time.
They're always doing
every
some
time
shit.
Someone said to me, because for anyone that doesn't know Franklin, it's known for being a very wealthy town.
Part of Nashville, like South Nashville.
It's like one of the most, and someone said one time, they're like, I guess you're proof that money can't buy everything.
Jeez. Oh.
It was good.
That's a good line.
It was really good.
But so is there, you can't really have resentment towards them for carrying the gene, but you could for them not believing you.
Yeah.
Like, how are you guys now?
I don't speak to my dad, not even because of that. He's just never really been super involved. Mm-hmm. And that was before the whole wheelchair thing, so he's just like a regular shitty dad.
Yeah, just a standard.
Yeah, standard. It's not because of the
yeah, I had that too with my dad. He was just a Vietnam vet, just like, you know,
yeah,
the world.
Marine Corps.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
The world didn't necessarily, the government maybe didn't take care of them in the right way, but you know,
he's not even like the forefront of my issues. So you know what I mean?
Man, I got to tell you though, it's not to make this about me, but it's hard to follow you on stage because you do share a story that an audience, for the most part, an able-bodied audience cannot relate to. And you're so funny. Part of what I think is so funny about you is your timing. You did something incredible. You took like a minute to get to your first punchline. And I knew it was like pulling back on the bow and arrow. I knew you were just building so much tension and it crushes so hard. I watched some of your other jokes with my YouTube community. We're just like browsing through your page today. But on your Instagram, you've gotten a good amount of love from you making light of your story. So I want to get to that, but let's go back to college. So you get surprised. So you get surprised with being told you're going to be performing. Where is your journey with like your body at that point? Are you now using a cane?
Yes, I'm using a cane. We're in the cane era at this point.
The cane era. It's like a new Taylor Swift. The cane era.
And I get really drunk so that I can talk in front of, it's like 75, 100 people.
Yeah, and it's college. Everyone's insecure.
Yeah, and I've not written material. I'm just sad.
And you just got broken up with.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
A 3-year relationship. So I'm like destroyed, drunk, disabled,
Destroyed, drunk, disabled.
And so I sit down and it's like, what's it called? Like a lazy boy chair. And all of these people just sit crisscross the applesauce on the ground like it's story time and I'm Mr. Rogers, And I don't remember what I said. It went really well. They wanted me to do it again, but I was like, fuck no, never again.
Did you feel... When did you first feel funny? Do you have a time where you remember like getting laughs with your family?
Oh, like back in the day?
Yeah. Like where does your humor come from?
Oh God, honestly. So part of the whole diagnosis story, I finally get diagnosed.
Okay.
And then they say, oh my God, what's wrong with your sister? And then she gets diagnosed with the same fucking thing.
Oh, so she did have it.
Yeah, so I wasn't copying her.
Oh my gosh.
So she and I have had, like, obviously, she's 4 years older than me. A difficult relationship at times, but she's super funny too.
Interesting.
And we had a pretty difficult upbringing and, familial aspects, and now we both have this hard disability to deal with. And so I just think I've always kind of had like someone to riff with.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? Is making light of circumstances you can't control. Mm-hmm. And how is she with her, I hate to say who's got it worse, but are you guys in the same sort of boat?
So as I said, it's progressive, but the cool thing is that she and I have always been pretty deeply involved in different clinical trials pertaining to our disability. And there was one that she was in for the past, 5 or 6 years. And now it has been approved by the FDA, and I'm on the meds too.
Oh, nice.
And it pauses the progression. So she is 4 years older than me, but she paused her progression 5 years ago. So we are pretty much the same.
Well, that's amazing. Now, I always wonder because, like we live in a time where diseases are like, stem cell research and genetic coding, and I don't know anything about it, but do you hold out hope that they are going to find a way to get into the genes and just completely reverse it?
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that I just got wind of a clinical trial that I think they're entering phase 2, but it is gene therapy. I will be able to walk in the next 5 to 7 years.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, and because what's interesting, you don't hear too many stories in Hollywood of people with disability, like real stories of their character. It's almost like a token idea. And I looked back to, Forrest Gump. You have Lieutenant Dan, who's, loses his legs and he doesn't want to live, and he's kind of this salty, bitter guy, which is seems to be like a pretty honest take on somebody who once was athletic, once was this, and then now is not.
Yeah.
How do you feel now? Maybe it's a slow progression, but how do you feel knowing you are now restricted in ways that you used to not be?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because I will say, just like being aware of what degree of mobility I have lost, because I was so into athletic activities, that has been very difficult. And I can't pretend like I'm always happy-go-lucky. Let's glass half full this bitch, But I think I became aware that I'm one of, if not the only disabled person a lot of people know personally.
Yeah.
And I kind of represent an idea. And I mean, if this shit can happen, it can happen to anyone.
Yes.
We're the only minority that's always taking new members. So I don't want to make this look like the worst fucking thing, because it's not.
Right.
I'm so fortunate in so many ways, and I've turned this into like a cool thing I get to talk about. So it's like, why mope?
Why mope? That's a great way to put it. Now, because I'm sure that I'm projecting onto you a lot of feelings as an able-bodied person, to be like, how do you, all these questions that it must be exhausting to deal with, and yet here I am. But it's kind of your identity in a way. Do you ever just want to go on stage? And I ask this because I don't know if you've ever seen this. Some of the funniest stand-up I've ever seen is when a guitar comic will go on stage with their guitar and then never play a song and never reference it. Do you ever go on stage and just say like, well, internet's weird? Like, do you ever just not address it at all? Or is it just like you have to talk about it because it's such a visual thing?
I will say, I think that part of like the whole I'm 3 years in almost, like in a consistent fashion. And from the beginning, I was writing a lot of kind of exclusively wheelchair related material, which I think is fair because that's how I experience the world. So that's where my stories are always going to be set in. I think now I'm starting to do more observational. I sprinkled that in.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I think growing, I'm interested to see, but 7 years in, because your writing evolves, right, for everyone. I think there's basic and then hard level.
Yeah. I mean, you ever bomb? You ever have it? Because it's one thing, I'm a douche on stage. If I bomb, whatever. But you ever go on stage, sit there in your wheelchair, and the audience is like, no, we're not buying it?
I've done not well. I don't know that I've technically ever bombed, but I have left the stage being like, well, I guess they hate disabled people.
Yeah.
And I have certain jokes I'll do if it's not going well that will normally turn it around.
I've heard some of those, and I was like, oh, I knew what you were doing, and I was like, this is good.
Happened at the beginning.
I was like, that was so organic, and yet you learn as a comedian what you need to do to survive up there, which might sound overly dramatic, but you just learn what tools you have. I'll just go to shitting on myself, and you know what I mean? We all just have different things. But yeah, that was fun watching you up there. Now you're dating a comedian.
I am.
Tell me about that. What's that like?
It's been really good. I mean, as far as there's been no issue in the comedy world with that. I think he and I exist in really different spheres of comedy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like definitely a dirty comedian. I'm a disabled comedian. I'm a female comedian. He's none of those things. You know?
You know, I was going to ask you about being a so to say you're a dirty comedian, until I moved to Nashville, never really thought of comics as clean versus dirty, but there does seem to be a lot of clean comedy out here. Have you noticed? I think you had just got back from Colorado. Have you noticed a different environment where there are certain markets like this one where people only want clean versus dirty?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the South for you.
Oh, interesting.
You know?
Is it a type of dirty? Is it swearing or sexual? Is there something that...
There are like different, there's like clean comedy and there's church clean comedy.
Church clean?
Yeah, clean comedy is generally just like no cussing, or if you're going to do sexual innuendos, no acting it out, no... You know, you gotta say like booty instead of ass or whatever.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize, like I knew clean comedy existed for late night TV and certain things, but I've been, I guess, a dirty comic and I didn't even know it.
Yeah. No, I
had no idea.
And like, you don't have to be clean, obviously, but I think to find success quicker in the South, it's good to be able to do at least 5 to 10 minutes of clean, which I'm working on.
Totally. No, and I get it. I totally get it. I used to have to open for a comedian and he wanted clean. And I'm like, well, I understand. You don't want, I think the dirty that I do, I get away with because I've done comedy long enough that it's not like offensively dirty. So I don't think when people, now if they're listening to see like whether or not you said the F word, that's one thing. But I think, I think when you learn the heart of a joke, even if it's dirty, you can get away with it. But, obviously if you're doing church clean, that's a different scenario. And I guess if certain jokes to me are clean and certain jokes are dirty, like it's wherever the joke goes, But I didn't realize your boyfriend was a clean comic.
He's not fully,
He's cleaner.
Yeah, like him being able to, he can do like 30 minutes of clean.
Right.
So I think that's why he counts. He's definitely, well, I don't want to say that. I'm not trying to shit on anyone, but like he's one of the better.
There you go. Oh, you was fantastic. Everyone was so good on that show. It's been such an honor to meet like so many new people out here, and I immediately after I saw your set was like, oh my gosh, I hate to say it, but you've got such a interesting thing going on, being young, beautiful, and also able to talk about your disability. Now, so how did your relarelationship begin? Is there like, hey, did he ask you on a date, or is it like comedy, like let's go right?
You think Matt asked me out?
Did you ask him out?
Yeah.
There you go. You shot your shot.
I mean, we're friends. I had known him for 2 years. And then I have like a 2-wheelchair system where I have one house chair, one car wheelchair that stays in my car so I can go places.
Is that the one that I saw?
That's my house.
That's your house chair, okay.
But one of my chairs broke, and he and I were on the same show, and he offered to come pick me up. So after the show, he and I went to get a drink and food, and I had never hung out with him alone. And we just like talked and had very deep conversations for like 2 hours. And that's when I found out he was single. I didn't even know he was single.
Oh, and you were like, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, well, hell, what? And we started shooting sketches together and just hanging out a lot. And then I was opening for Bob the Drag Queen at Zany's all weekend. And I was very scared because I was doing 20 minutes up top.
Oh.
And he came over, helped me prepare, ended up coming to the show to like listen to me talk about how I felt I did. And that night I told him, I asked him if he thought I was hot. And he was like, what?
You asked him if he thought you were hot?
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good way to
Yeah. He still didn't think I was hitting on him, though. He was like, is she feeling insecure? What's happening? And so I told him I liked him, and he liked me back, and the rest is history.
There it is.
Yeah.
And you guys travel a little bit now?
He is full-time on tour with Rodney Carrington.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's where he is right now, actually.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, Rodney is a hoot and a half. But yeah, that's been cool. He used to be, Matt, my boyfriend, used to be a social worker.
Oh.
And because of this gig with Rodney, it was so consistent. He's making more than, they don't pay social workers.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
But he's making enough. He got to quit his job. He's a full-time comedian now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't make it until you do.
Yeah.
And they always tell you the odds. But the odds exist because, you know, some people don't pursue their dream to the full extent. Or sometimes, I've done stand-up now for 12 or 13 years. You just see people get other opportunities, and sometimes they choose stability or they choose something else, or their family gets in the way, and, you know, that's just life. That's just how it works. But for those that stick it out, I mean, it's kind of like 100% success rate if you stick it out.
Yeah.
Now, success might just take a long time, but...
Well, and it looks, everyone's success looks different. Like, we all expect the same path, I think.
Yeah.
But it's not the same for anyone. No two people.
Now, what would success look like for you? What's your ultimate goal?
Like a 5-year plan success, or just like
crystal ball, your wildest dreams.
Man, I would love to be headlining big theaters, full-time comic. I have a web series
Okay.
I did for a couple of years, and I'm probably going to pick back up soon, but it's called Capable, and it's about my life, and it's funny because when I started, I was walking with the cane.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then the last episode, I'm in a wheelchair.
Wow.
It's really weird.
What was that like going from the day? I mean, there must have been like a day where you're like, the cane's just not working anymore. Was that hard? Was that a hard thing to cope with, to go down to the wheels?
Yeah, because it's easy to make canes look cute.
Yeah, you look like a pimp.
Yeah, and I had like 14.
Yeah, you're like a rocket.
Different
You're like,
ones for
yeah, I got a
every
cane.
album. I swear to God, and I'd be like, oh, this whole thing, I'm just
You
a
gonna hit on
fashion
guys,
bird.
yeah,
I had one with a sword inside of it I would take on first dates.
Is that hard to get through TSA, a cane? It's kind of like a weapon.
No, they don't really fuck with you.
They don't fuck with you?
No.
Maybe if you had like brass knuckles on the cane.
I
that
could
would be
see that,
yeah.
that being a problem.
But yeah, you could have. Now, were you a standard like cane handle, or did you use like the staff, the stick cane?
No, standard handle, and they were, they're all very fancy, and like I'm telling you, I had one for every outfit.
I'm sure.
I was really serious.
Are you like bejeweling them at all, or?
I know, I'd like sleek. It was like brown, black, gold.
Gold, there you
silver.
Oh man, I mean, it's so yeah. So what was the day like? Where like did you go part-time on the wheelchair at first, or did you have better
it was
days?
like if I was going out drinking with friends, I would bring my wheelchair. And at that point I was like, this is just my drinking chair.
That's your drinking cup holder.
Yeah, I have a cup holder.
Yeah, you got the koozie, the cup holder.
And then I realized just like it's kind of, I guess you gotta check back in with yourself with stuff like that, because you're like, okay, how often are you falling? Is this getting dangerous? You know what I mean? I
mean, I can imagine. That's wild. And how, like you said one of your wheelchairs broke. I mean, they must be extremely expensive. Like, what's the whole like burden there with the healthcare system?
I don't have healthcare.
Welcome to the U.S.
I'm uninsurable for my pre-existing, and I'm self-employed.
Isn't that wild? You're uninsurable. So the one thing that you need, you can't get, because if you were healthy, you probably wouldn't need it.
Well,
it's
I mean, that's what I've noticed, and this is not a hot take, but health insurance they only give it to people if they really think they won't use it, but anyone who might need it doesn't have it.
I had to get life insurance yesterday because like we're having a baby, and I'm like, all right, I can't leave my wife. Like when you're single, you don't need health insurance. You die, whatever. But I'm like, I can't leave my wife. Like I'm the breadwinner. I need to do something. And they're asking me all the questions. Do you smoke? Do you drink? And I'm just lying. And I don't smoke or drink. Well, I drink a little bit. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but like it depends if they're watching. But it's like they're going to decide how much money I'm worth and whether or not I'm going to die in the next 20 years. And it's just a math equation. And with health insurance, it's the same thing. They're like, why would they give you health insurance? You need it. I mean, how fucked up is this?
My life insurance would be like $25.
Yeah. They're like, here you go.
Yeah, well, shit.
I mean, so what is it just like, I know someone who's actually also a comedian, and she has like $1 million in healthcare bills, and she's just like gonna go bankrupt. You know, she's not gonna pay it, but like, how does it work when it comes to like, you need help, you need this medicine that's gonna help you? Do they give that to you because they're clinical trials?
So up until this point, there has been no medicine, no cure, so there's no financial burden because I'm just like rotting.
Yeah.
But because this, the medicine I take now that pauses the disease, it is $27,000 a month.
Oh my gosh.
My sister gets it for free because she was in the trial. And I also am getting it for free because, some other things. So.
I mean, But the money, that's the problem, is like, it's not political, it's fucked up.
Yeah, it's big
fucked
pharma
up. Big pharma, the money's there. This is where science should be investing its money into curing cancer, into finding ways to reverse issues that in 50 years, we might look back on these times like, oh my gosh, the answer was right in front of us, you know? Like, it's just, if you can change the way the molecules are moving into a new direction, you're back cross-country running.
Literally, well, I believe they already have all of it.
Oh, you're getting into conspiracy. All right.
I don't know.
We'll see if anyone in our audience knows somebody. Maybe they can get you the good stuff.
It's just, it all kind of feels suspicious because everything is, I don't know, based on money. I was in one of the clinical trials, the first phase of, I'm waiting for the open label to happen for this trial I was in 3 years ago.
Open label means you'll be able to do it again?
I'll get it for free for a few years. The open label is the stage after clinical trials and before FDA approval. So that's why people do clinical trials, because it means I get it for free when they're at clinical trials. So I'll be an open label. It's an injection, like a shot.
And is that what you have now? That's like what?
No, that's a pill,
and
now that pauses it. But these injections. So the only reason I'm like this and you're not like this is because you make more of a protein than I do called frataxin.
Frataxin.
So these shots are injecting frataxin into my mitochondria. I don't know.
Which is in the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah.
And that's where that provides us the energy.
It
so
creates.
I don't know if any of this is true, but I think I remember science.
Yeah, I know the whole trial was about the thing they're wrapping the medicine in so it can get into the mitochondria and be effective. So they have found that to be true. I have been in the trial, and when I was for a day and a half, I was able to walk 50 feet unassisted there and back, and like my speech was a little better and my handwriting was different. So I know it works, and I'll be getting that in the summer.
Oh, how exciting. Come back on the show once you're on that. Now, you've had some pretty good success on social media, I saw. What's the vibe like with how you feel, the internet's treated your comedy? And has there been any like, oh, you can't talk about this because it's, like any of that, or is it just all love?
No, it is not all love. I am still a woman. Yeah, no, it's cool because I think I've reached a lot of the disabled community on the internet, which I love to see. I think there are a lot of perverted people.
Yeah.
And
that lines up.
unfortunately, I have like a large male audience.
Really?
And I don't know why.
Do you think you're a kink?
Yeah, I'm a red in a wheelchair with glasses. Are you kidding?
You check off a very specific porn tool. You're like, if I could just get there, you're like the one redheaded comedian in a wheelchair. Well, congratulations for that. You got that market on lockdown.
Probably my biggest success.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, people get angry because I think there is no understanding of how like vast disability is.
And it's not like an intellectual thing.
No, but I speak strange, so people cannot fathom that doesn't mean that.
You know, I think I agree, but I think people are coming around. When you look at like RFK Jr., he obviously has like a vocal issue, and he's not. I mean, like it's not his intellect; it's the way he comes off. But we are we do infantilize people with disabilities. So like, can you like tell, like, were you old enough to like see the difference on how people treated you before versus now?
Oh my God, yeah.
Because I have to be honest, I'm like giving you way more empathy than I might have, because I think I'm treating you as like I have compassion, even though I don't know what you're going through. Like I feel for that, you know, like there's more humanity there.
Right. I mean.
By the way, am I going to this show?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead to that show. Because and sorry, but like because like my wife's 8 months pregnant, and she's being treated so lovingly by humanity.
Even that, yeah.
We go to the DMV, ma'am, please take my seat. I'm like, it's so good to see that, but we don't always, like, why don't we always treat people that way?
Yeah.
The world would be beautiful if we all treated people like they were pregnant or disabled.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember even before I had an indicator that I was disabled, so even in college, I wobbled around a lot, and people were treating me normal then because they just thought I was drunk.
Yeah.
But I remember girls were really fucking mean to me.
Really?
When I was able-bodied.
When they didn't think that it was a disability.
Yeah, like...
And they thought you were just quirky.
They thought I was just a quirky... I mean, I don't know what it is, but like the first reaction to me was always rude. And I see girls do that to my friends when I'm not around. Like, when I'm not with them.
And not from guys.
No, men were very much like, hey, you know, yeah, because they thought I was drunk.
Oh, funny.
But now, women, I can't really find a woman that is going to be rude to me. Yeah. I mean, they might piss me off in their own special way, but women, there's a lot of fake kindness now.
Oh, you think so? Like that falsetto, like, hey, how are you?
Yeah, like a lot of virtue signaling kind of thing.
Oh, you think it's because they want a disabled friend?
Yeah. Do you know that makes you look to people?
Well, I get a tax write-off for having you.
Right.
I'm like totally checking off some boxes. Yeah. I get my redhead community. I get the disabled community. I'm waiting for this lady to get out of the way here. And we'll wrap this up in a second. But what else did I want to... Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I found, obviously, you super talented and funny, but also just, you know, in a world where we go on stage and try to tell people what's wrong with the world, it was just nice to see a little bit of a change of pace with your set. So, did I leave anything I wanted to ask, or are we good? Anything you want to ask me? Anything you want to know about me? I don't run track. What can I tell you? Do
you have any disabled friends?
That's a great question. I mean, mentally, most comedians in one way or another.
Totally.
But no, I mean, honestly, I think most of my friends do stand-up, which is probably incredibly hard to do with a disability. So that's a good question. And I feel like, no.
Nah.
Oh, man, I didn't mean to actually make you knock off all of the check marks, but here we are.
Yeah.
And is it like, so when you have to decide to go do a show or not, do you base it a lot of times on just the logistic? Like, you can't drive, obviously.
I can drive. I have hand controls.
Okay, so So what does that look like? Is that like a special?
It's like a boat. They just installed it in my car because I was driving with my feet up until a year ago.
You got to wear like a skipper's hat.
Yeah, I have to. I had a cigar hanging on him. It's like
just like a pipe, like
spinach
or
whatever. Yeah. Like the wheel is here, and like you pull back, it's gas. You push forward, it's brake.
Oh wow. Is that hard to use though? Like
there was no test, no nothing. They put in my car and they were like, "Good luck."
Wow.
I've been fine.
So that's why when everyone says Nashville's got bad drivers, I'm just gonna look out for this redhead in a captain's hat.
Yeah.
I've heard that weed can be good for like Parkinson's, which again, completely different disease. But are there any medicinal things that you've found?
I smoke weed most nights because I have muscle spasms and that wakes me up a lot. But that's the only like painful thing that comes with this disability, I think.
So that helps you just sleep better at night. Edibles or just smoking?
I smoke it. Yeah.
There you go. Old school right here from Franklin, Fiona. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Tell everyone where they can go find you and support you because I really want everyone to check out your comedy.
Oh, yeah. I'm on Instagram as Fiona Cauley. FionaCauley. TikTok is the same thing.
Which one's
Instagram? I'm more active.
And they might ban TikTok, so now, you know.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they're working on getting rid of it, so.
I heard that. Oh, and this hat.
Clitlit.
Do you know Amber Autry?
No.
Oh my God, she's a comedian here, one of the greats.
Oh really?
Like,
I gotta get her on. I gotta get her on. Yeah.
This is her merch.
Oh nice.
She is headlining Zanies. What was it? April 23rd, I think, and I'm featuring.
Oh, congrats! How exciting. So all right, anyone in Nashville, Zanies on that day, go check out your Instagram. And what does Clitlit even mean?
I think it's one of her
jokes.
drugs.
Okay. I didn't read it until you mentioned it, but now my audience is going to be well aware of the Clitlit fam. I want to try to get you on my show at Zanies. We'll talk about it off air, but I got one coming up. It would be awesome if you could do it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Thanks again for doing the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.